Welcome to Tusi TV. This is your global news channel. I'm Maya Tusi, and Keir Starmer's government is in turmoil, not just because as of now, President Trump has announced that trade has been stopped by the Americans, and specifically the tech trade deal with the United Kingdom has been suspended. And of course, everything goes back to the diplomatic wars between the British government and the Americans. There is also a problem for Keir Starmer's cabinet because the economy is collapsing. Unemployment is up and inflation is up. They don't know what to do. The Bank of England is now considering to change the interest rates. We're going to give you guys all the details in this, but before we start, huge announcement, ladies and gentlemen. Massive announcement. Tomorrow, 17th of December, we are finally releasing our exclusive 2CTV Plus documentary, October 7th, Beyond Survival. You can watch this by going on 2c.tv, but in order to do that, of course, we already have the Christmas period discount code, but I thought, let's go crazy. I want you guys to watch this documentary. It's the most important thing we've done on this channel. We are giving you guys 55% discount. Limited offer. It's going to go very soon. So use the promo code Israel to get 55% annual memberships of 2CTV Plus by going on 2c.tv or find the link in the description. It's only for the annual memberships, not monthly. So you can only use it in the annual registration page. So go on 2c.tv, use the promo code Israel 55%, and the documentary will be out tomorrow. Today you can go on the website and watch the trailer. It's already out. Now let's talk about the relationship between the British and the Americans. All right, it's not looking too good for Starmer specifically, because it's not really just about the overall British state. It's actually about the cabinet and the top of Downing Street. President Trump has now suspended the trade deal that recently was signed between the two countries. This goes back specifically towards the tech prosperity aspects of the deal. Now, the tech prosperity deal covered AI, nuclear energy, and quantum computing. This was supposed to be one of the biggest things, one of the biggest achievements of this Labour government, alongside the £31 billion investment from some of the Silicon Valley companies. Now, there is a bit of a problem. There are some issues between the American government and the British establishment. Some of it goes to the cabinet of Keir Starmer, some of it goes to the British state and the BBC. We're going to talk about the BBC. And some of it goes towards bureaucracy in Whitehall and the civil servants who are essentially the deep state in the United Kingdom. Now, why are they kicking off? Well, the Tech Pact was supposed to be progressing based on the separate economic deal that they made, the agreement that they've made. It was supposed to boost trade in cars, beef, and pharmaceuticals. The White House are extremely furious right now because the Brits are not moving forward, because the British government are saying, well, we have strong safety standards, high quality standards, and we don't trust you. Now, RFK Jr. have made radical changes in recent months to improve standards, especially when it comes to food safety in the US. The Brits are not happy because the British government are going along with the standards given to them by the European Union. So, for example, there's a symbolic hatred of American chicken. But RFK Jr. has made radical changes when it comes to food standards in the US. The Brits are using excuses. They clearly don't want this to work out. But the White House are also frustrated because of the soft war between the two countries. Everything goes back to the frustration over Britain's Online Safety Act, which is the anti-free speech laws, as well as the digital services tax that has been introduced and increased by Keir Starmer's socialist government. Now, they are targeting American companies. President Trump is not too happy about that. President Trump is saying tech is the most important aspect here. You guys have introduced new laws to crack down on free speech. You have also increased new taxes. And what is the point of us dealing with you? We don't believe that American companies or American citizens will be safe in the UK or dealing with the UK. The Brits are doubling down. It's not looking too good. That's why the president had to suspend the tech prosperity deal, as well as completely stopping the trade relationship, saying we're not going to go forward with any of this unless you come back to the negotiation table, unless you actually manage to grow up. Now, the Tories are also kicking off about this. We had Andrew Griffiths, who's the shadow business secretary, has now said that the Prime Minister must immediately clarify these concerning reports. His steel deal has long been considered dead on arrival, and now it appears the same for his technology partnership. Now, it's extremely embarrassing because over the last year, Keir Starmer's Labour government have made deals with the Americans and the Indians. Both trade deals have been a sellout to the US and India. Both President Trump and Prime Minister Modi were the biggest winners in those talks. Keir Starmer just gave away everything, and I think now he's trying to backtrack, which is not looking too good because you do not poke President Trump. He's a big bear. He's going to come for you. Now, President Trump is also having a war with the British state in general, not just the government. He's now announced, as we reported yesterday, that he has actually officially filed the defamation lawsuit against the BBC after the fake news edited footage from Trump's January 6th speech in 2021. Now, the US president is now seeking damages of, there are two aspects to this. One of them is no less than $5 billion for the defamation lawsuit, and another $5 billion for the violation of a trade practices law. Now, overall it's 10 billion. The BBC are now also doubling down, which is kind of interesting. It's very brave. Now, there is a huge possibility that if the BBC fight this, because the legal action is in Florida, they might be able to get away with it, because they're going to go with the angle. The defense position is going to be, well, we didn't really defame President Trump in America. So there's an admission of guilt that, oh yeah, we might have accidentally, defamed President Trump in the UK, but not in Florida. So that's the position that they're going to be using. But this is what they said. Spokesperson for the BBC. The BBC sincerely regrets the manner in which the video clip was edited, but they also added that we strongly disagree that there is a basis for a defamation claim, right? Repeating the same thing that they said before. It gets worse from the position of the BBC. And what I'm about to tell you is the funniest thing I've ever reported on this channel. And actually, it's not this one, because we're going to talk about the leader of the Lib Dems, who's also a clown, but it's the next bit, which is about the BBC. Ed Davey is urging Keir Starmer to stand up for the BBC against Trump's outrageous $5 billion lawsuit and protect the license fee payers from being hit in the pocket. Trump wants to interfere, he says, in our democracy and undermine our national broadcaster. We cannot let him. Oh, you clown. It was the BBC that interfered in American democracy. Now, forget about the fact that he doesn't actually understand how anything works. If the BBC gets sued, if the BBC loses the case, the BBC cannot come to the British public and the license payers to ask for more money to pay the damages. That's not how it works. There are two options on the table. The BBC will have to use its existing budget, which means that they can pay it and they'll go bankrupt, or they could go to the Crown. They could go to the Crown and Keir Starmer and ask the British state to subsidize the BBC, but not the license fee payers. So, which is the whole new scandal, because that means that the budget in the Treasury will be hit and the British taxpayers will be absolutely furious. That's not going to happen. The BBC are still confident that they're going to win. The reason I say this is because the spokesperson for the BBC has now doubled down, saying, as we have made it clear previously, We will be defending this case. We are not going to make further comment on ongoing legal proceedings. Now, what I read to you just now was an official quote and statement from the BBC. Who do you think went to the BBC and asked them for the quote? It was the BBC. So the BBC asked the BBC for comments, and the BBC said, we don't want to comment. What's going on here? Can't you make up your own mind? So we got BBC journalists going to the BBC headquarters saying, can you comment? Like, no, we're not going to further look. And then the BBC publish that exchange. It's a clown show. The whole thing makes no sense. Just release an official statement, you idiots. But while they're focusing on that, the British government is collapsing regardless because of the economic crisis and the cost of living crisis overall. The UK unemployment figures have just now come out. Guess what? It's now increased massively to 5.1%. We have gone back to the lockdown days. Inflation, as it has now risen to 3.6%, despite the fact that the Bank of England's target is 2%. Everything, both situations in July 2024, when we had the election, by that point, both situations were fixed by the Tories, both the unemployment numbers and inflation. After the lockdown days, of course, we had the massive COVID crisis where the government decided to just spend money and print money like there's no tomorrow. The Tories were very bad at everything else in terms of governance of the country, but they were very good at numbers. And they did fix it eventually. And Rishi Sunak warned everybody, and I didn't like Rishi Sunak in general. And he did say during the election campaign, this guy is going to increase your taxes and everything's going to go up. Inflation and unemployment, and it's happened. We've gone backwards. We've gone back to 2020. And the 2020 excuse was, well, it's COVID. It's, you know, it's a global pandemic, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have to print more money and borrow more money. But that was the excuse. What is the excuse now? Now, having said that, scandal after scandal after scandal. The trade relationship is in turmoil. Unemployment, the economy is in chaos. The BBC is falling apart. It gets worse because the priority for the British government is Islam. Yes, of course. Advance UK and Ben Habib have said that the government is finalising a new definition of anti-Muslim hatred following advice from a working group. This is not about protecting people from violence. Existing laws already do that. It is about redefining language so that one religion is placed beyond normal scrutiny and turning guidance into a weapon against dissent. It's true. Advance UK also said this, that the government is quietly rolling out a new definition of anti-Muslim hatred and pretending it's harmless guidance. In reality, it's a backdoor blasphemy law. Once every public body adopts it, hatred can be stretched to include not just genuine threats, but robust criticism of Islam, Islamism, mass migration, parallel communities, or Islamist influence in our institutions. The government are spending more money and our resources on this, rather than fixing the economy, rather than actually not embarrassing us on the international stage. Pandering to this small group that are on the rise because of the opportunities given to them by the Western globalists. Now, overall, the British state and the bureaucrats have no plan to resume talks with the United States. How long will it take until President Trump says enough is enough, we're going to put more tariffs on you? That tactic worked with the European Union. And I'm pretty sure the carrot and stick approach of President Trump is going to be a lot easier on Keir Starmer. I'm going to get some reaction on this in a second, but as I said, tomorrow, 17th of December, we are finally releasing our exclusive documentary, October 7th, Beyond Survival. It will be exclusively on 2C TV Plus. You can watch it by going on 2c.tv and download the 2C TV app. But use the promo code Israel to get 55% discount from our annual memberships of 2CTV Plus, not monthly, annual. This is the biggest discount we've done. Obviously, we already have the 50% for the Christmas period, but I thought this was an important project and it's an important thing for you guys to see. So definitely support the channel, join, use the 55% discount. It's limited offer, and then you can also watch that tomorrow when it comes out. Okay, so now Ivan says, seems like Donald J. Trump has lost patience with Stormbot. That's a good one. I like Stormbot. And Vinny says, big up the Donald Stuck Farmer. Yes, this is how you get around the YouTube censorship or any sort of social media censorship. Stuck Farmer. Just replace some of the letters. And welcome to Bankruptcy UK. Yes, so everything's going bankrupt at the same time. We got the NHS running out of money. I don't know how, considering that both the Tory government and the Labour government have increased funding for the BBC, for the NHS, but the National Health Service is falling apart. The BBC is running out of money. The Treasury is running out of money. Not sure how. And we also now have Keir Starmer's government is spending more money on some paperwork that says, don't be mean to Muslims. Okay. Carter says, poor Starmer. He doesn't know when to quit. In his defense, it's very difficult to backtrack when you've already been instantly the villain of the country from day one when you're prime minister. You're going to have to keep digging. He's got no other option. What do you think he's going to do? Keep his hands up and says, apologize, I'm going to go move to France? He can't do it. He's going to have to keep going now until we bring him down. Or the Labour MPs basically find their replacement. Starmer sits down to pee. Debate. I can confirm that. Yep, allegedly. The BBC bumbling bozos. No wonder they are going down. The fact that somebody advised the BBC to fight this is interesting. Because, as I said, they can technically win if they are going with the defense position that, well, we didn't technically defame President Trump in the US, and we might have done it in the UK and around the world, but not in, because there are different levels in terms of how much you defame someone, in terms of the reputation damage in the UK and in the US. So if they go with that, they can win, but it's a gamble, because if you lose, if you're actually fighting it and refuse to do a settlement, you don't have money. You can spend all the money that you have, but obviously the judges might bring down the money a little bit to save the BBC. But you cannot continue. You can't, unless the Treasury and Rachel Reeves bail out the BBC, which is highly likely because the Keir Starmer has already confirmed Downing Street months ago that we will safeguard the BBC. Now, let's not forget, when the Tories were in power, they made the changes to the law that by 2027, the license for the TV license for the BBC was going to expire, and they were not going to renew it. And so they gave the BBC a couple of years to come up with a new financial model for their funding. Keir Starmer came and reversed that. So all the changes that the Tories made, including, again, when it comes to the employment, when it comes to inflation, when it comes to stopping the money printing nonsense and the BBC funding model, all that has been reversed within half an hour of Keir Starmer getting into Downing Street. Now, Kevin also says, AUKUS, tariff Britain 100%. That's proper war. Sanction British banks. That'll be damaging to even the dollar, by the way. And end all British visas. Either pull out all US troops from the UK or use them to free Britain. That's a coup. That's a global coup. It's like what the Erdogan did in Syria. That also backfired slightly. But yes, I'll be in favor of, on behalf of the Americans, to put more tariffs on Britain. The king has to step in surely at this stage. No, because the problem is this is still not really a constitutional crisis. Ironically, there are other constitutional crises that we have, that the crown, it's not the king, it's the crown. The crown can step in and should step in, including when it comes to the laws that are restricting our British liberties. But it's obviously the king, on behalf of the crown, can have a conversation, and he's probably having conversations with Starmer. They do meet, I believe, on Tuesdays, which was earlier today. Sometimes Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesdays. I can't remember what day they're meeting these days. They do have the conversation. So the king would ask the prime minister what's happening with the trade situation with the US, because it's going to have repercussions on the British society in general. But I'm pretty sure Starmer will just say everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Just focus on yourself. Everything's fine. The BBC are playing Russian roulette. Yeah. The problem is, it's just one bullet, it's one gun and one bullet, and there's nothing else. So if they press it, if they pull it, they might die. Starmer is a warmonger wanting war with Russia. So yeah, it's funny because a week ago we were talking about Emmanuel Macron, because he mentioned that the French children should be prepared to die in this upcoming war, apparently. And but we were talking about Macron because that statement was a little bit OTT, because we were talking about how the British government are preparing for war. And there was a statement from the British Army military saying that the civilians need to start preparing to help the military. But then yesterday, Keir Starmer came and repeated what Macron said, that yes, so some of our children are going to die. Get ready to fight. So they moved on from... We had a situation where usually military, it's the military job to keep you safe. Then they moved to the next level, which is, oh yeah, the military will do that, but can civilians also just help a little bit? And then the next level is, oh yes, can you send your children to fight? Like, okay, so what's the point of a military at this point if you're just going to get civilians to do everything now? It says Keir Starmer's net approval rating minus 60%. Thing is, that's still popular for Starmer. It should really be minus 100%. I'm not really sure why it's not. You forgot that Great Britain will quit drilling for oil. I haven't forgotten, but okay. I still remember. Yep. And what's going on with this? Lee says Labour out now. Actually, Labour out 6 months ago. That would have been ideal, but no. Keir W, I still call him, or banker with a W, can fight Russia on his one. He is one. A thing, it means his own. Yeah, cool. Now, someone says the BBC and this government have the exact same FU attitude to the electorate. That's the thing, by the way, because it's the FU attitude, not just to the electorate, but now to President Trump. So, I mean, it's brave, considering you know what President Trump could do, and you are fully dependent and addicted to the US economy. Whether you like it or not, we're all part of the American empire. I don't think these guys understand. If all these idiots were going around with the coalition of the willing and the European army saying, yes, we're going to make Europe strong again, you can't survive without the American influence. US bases are everywhere. The American culture is everywhere. The dollar is leading the world, despite what BRICS wanted to do. I love how BRICS and China, obviously leading BRICS, changed their mind. They created BRICS initially saying, we are fighting the dollar. They're like, cool. And the plan is we're going to promote decentralized local currencies, like based on gold. I'm like, oh, that's fun. Let's do it. Let's try it out. And then they said, okay, no, we're going to move away from gold. We are going to go with digital currencies, central bank digital currencies, and mostly based in Beijing. And we're going to centralize the whole thing instead of gold. And now, obviously, Russia, Iran, China, all these countries have already introduced their pilot launch for their digital currencies. Well, the Western countries, because of bureaucracy, we're still behind. So we have our government and Bank of England talking about digital currencies. They've been talking about it for like 50 million years. We're not even doing anything. And then, by the way, we shouldn't, because it's a terrible, terrible idea. Evil idea. Do not promote central bank digital currencies. Whereas obviously the dictatorships, they don't need to care about bureaucracy. So they're all doing it. They're all starting to roll it out because they moved away from gold. So all the promises of BRICS that we're going to fight the dollar using gold, well, that was a lie. Or at least they changed their mind. Keith says, my dear Tusi. Yes, my dear Keith. This was inevitable. The UK is in turmoil. Thank you for your efforts. I know what you're trying to say, but the way you worded the sentence make it sound like I did it. UK is in turmoil. Thank you, Tusi. Thank you for Keith, I agree. But it's the main issue is that we've been in turmoil for some time. Keir Starmer just managed to bring it down to the basement. Tusi, can you explain why Trump is partnering with Pakistan? It's not Trump partnering with Pakistan. It's the whole of the West and the American empire. For decades and decades and decades, the policy has not changed. It's to keep Pakistan close. And everything goes back to the position of the territory and the closeness to China. The problem with that strategy is that it's kind of falling apart because the CCP have been getting close to Pakistan. Regardless of that, something changed recently. So one of the main reasons that we kept Pakistan close, despite them being dodgy, was because of the influence in Central Asia. And we didn't want to basically get them to sell out to the CCP empire. And they have nuclear, so it doesn't help. But they've been getting close to China until recently. Somehow, the CCP's influence and attention shifted towards next door, Afghanistan. Now, there's a lot of rabbit holes here. There are a lot of people who could come up with some crazy conspiracy theories. Remember the days of Mujahideen in Afghanistan when they were fighting against the Soviet? And they were obviously helped and created by the West to do that. And then those guys became a little bit crazier and a chunk of them joined Al-Qaeda, the other ones Taliban. Recently, the Taliban came back. They killed the Americans ran away because Joe Biden didn't know how to fight back. So on paper, officially, we say that Afghanistan has fallen. Taliban are not our friends. Somehow, somebody told the Taliban that you should try to become friends with China. Now, let's not forget that Afghanistan and Pakistan hate each other. Because the Taliban in Afghanistan want to bring a caliphate into Pakistan. They want to turn Pakistan into an Islamic state. Now, that will be a funny thing to do, but it's also not going to work. The Pakistani regime and their system is so corrupt and all over the place, nobody can unite them. Even the Italian fascists with Mussolini would fail in Pakistan to unite them behind fascism. But suddenly, the CCP went to Afghanistan, which made Pakistan angry. So recently, somehow the Pakistanis are no longer fully trusting China. So the conspiracy theory you could come up with is maybe someone is the US side called Afghanistan and China. Maybe you guys should talk. So I don't know what's going on there. It could just be a coincidence, but that's definitely moved things away again. So we are now moving towards keeping the Pakistanis happy, which again doesn't really help when you've got a bunch of idiots in charge and Imran Khan is still in prison. Anyway, I hope that summary made sense. So people are still talking about how Starmer goes to the toilets. These are the important intellectual conversations that we need to have, guys. Oh, God. I don't know how these comments are not getting censored. Well, we don't do censorship, but I would assume that the YouTube algorithm would try its best. As I said, the most important thing right now is that tomorrow, Wednesday, 17th of December, our exclusive documentary, October the 7th, Beyond Survival, is coming out on 2C TV Plus. You can watch it by going on 2c.tv. But you can join today as an annual member if you use the promo code Israel, and you will get a crazy 55% discount. That's absolutely insane. It's the first time we've actually gone beyond 50% because everyone says, oh, 50%. So we've gone 55. It's limited. It's coming out tomorrow. It covers unheard stories from that tragic day of October 7, 2023, but also covers, again, it's called Beyond Survival. So it covers many other things and ordinary people in Israel and their stories. We talk to government officials, we talked to IDF, we talked to obviously other political parties who are not Netanyahu's parties, and also many other people who were caught in the middle of the invasion of Hamas. So a lot of unheard stories that you're going to see on in this documentary. So make sure to join 2CTV Plus. We have a couple of other projects coming out soon as well. We are working on introducing comedy and some comedy shows, political satire on 2CTV Plus as well. So with your support, we can do this. The only way you can support us is to become a member of 2CTV Plus. Download the 2CTV app, but don't join on the app because you can't use the promo code. You can use the promo code on the website. Go on 2C.tv. The link is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya 2C, and we are the media.